Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to formally welcome us to this event this Tuesday morning. I believe your day had started so well, and we want to appreciate your presence here today. We start right away? As you know, this is about 11:15, and we had slated the event to start at 11. We can no longer wait anymore. More importantly, as we have the president of the chamber here, ably represented by the deputy president, present with us already, we should start right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We will begin with the national anthem. Could we please be upstanding as we take the national anthem? Thank you so much. Please, let's have a seat. All right, we will have few recognitions. Let me begin with the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, ably represented here today by Engineer Abel Ihe, Technical Advisor to the Honorable Minister for State, Petroleum Resources, Engineer Abel. Let's put our hands together for Engineer Abel. Thank you so much. We have with us also our President, Ashiwaju Dr. Michael Olale Cole, President of the Chamber, CON, ably represented by the Deputy President, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir. With us also is Mr. Mohamed Bello Koko, MD CEO, the Nigerian Port Authority, MPA, ably represented here today by Mr. Durowaye Ayodele, General Manager, Nigerian Port Authority. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Ahmed Farouk, the Authority Chief Executive, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, represented by Mr. Steve, Senior Technical Advisor, STA, Authority Chief Executive, and Mr. Adebayo Onyinola, both of them representing Mr. Farouk Ahmed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. We have with us Dr. Bashir Jamal, the DG Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, represented by Dr. Awal Bamaga, Assistant Director, Marine Environment Management Department. All right, thank you so much. On the way. All right, we have a few of our panelists. I will recognize them when we get to the stage. We have with us also, this morning, Mr. Tunji Oyebanji is an ESCO member here at SCCI, also MD 11 PSC, immediate past chair, Petroleum Downstream sector here at SCCI. Thank you so much, sir. You're welcome. I should not forget my Director General here at the SCCI, Dr. Mrs. Chinyere Almuna, FCA. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. We have with us also my sister and our leader here also here at SCCI, Mrs. Victoria Bumi Onofowoko Obadino. She is the chair, marketing committee here at SCCI Trade Promotion Board. All right, thank you so much. We will take the opening remark by the chair, the Petroleum Downstream Group here at SCCI, Mr. Collins Obu, is opening this program for us with his opening remark. Mr. Collins, let's appreciate him as he comes to the podium. Let's clap for him, please.
morning all. The Honorable Minister of State for Gas, duly represented by Engineer Ebel Agege. Sorry if I misspell your name, pronounce your name. The President of SCCI, Aswaju Michael Oluwale Co, CON, represented by the Deputy President. The Director General of SCCI, Dr. Chinyere Amona, our prestigious guest speakers, Chief Authority Chief Executive, NBPRA, represented by Ayuba Steve, Senior Technical Assistant to the AC. The Managing Director, Nigerian Port Authority, represented by Engineer Ayo Adrowai. Director General NIMASA, represented by Demo. The esteemed chairperson, DAPMA, Mrs. Wilfred Akbani, and Chairman Moman, Mr. Hob Stockman. Distinguished stakeholders, CEOs of different entities, council members of SCCI, ladies and gentlemen. It is my utmost pleasure to welcome you to this year's SCCI Petroleum Downstream Group Conference. I thank the SCCI for providing this platform through the Downstream Petroleum Group. The downstream petroleum sector is one of the 27 sectors of SCCI. Its key objective is to promote, enhance public awareness of the industry, endorsement of the necessary measures to protect both the sector and the public. The objective has necessitated the theme for this year's symposium tagged Regulations of the Downstream Oil and Gas Sector in a Post-Subsidy Environment. We shall be examining strategy for promoting seamless importation of petroleum products, the CNG option, its opportunities, challenges, impact on the economy, as well as the impact on the subsidy removal for operators in the downstream oil and gas sector. We have gathered here the best minds to explore these key subjects in the decision and panel segment of the program. We note that the SCCI made concerted effort along with the industry stakeholders like DAPMA, MOMAN, and IPMAN towards the removal of subsidy by the federal government. The benefit of this action cannot be overemphasized. Following the removal of the petroleum subsidy, the federal government has experienced a surge in income flow, escalating from not minding the difficulties they are facing with the oil removal. There has been a surge in average income inflow to the federal government from 650 billion monthly to over $1 trillion in the preceding 4 months. To maintain the consistent rate of economic expansion, it is imperative to analyze the factors which affect the pricing of importing petroleum products and seek the implementation of gradual measures to tackle the specific difficulties that have been identified. To start with, there is need to facilitate the navigation of large vessels to Calabar, Warri, Port Harcourt, offshores, and reduce the shipping expenses by almost 10 naira per liter, which is always the difference between those areas and Lagos prices. To achieve this, the attention of the MPA will be required on the dredging of channels in Calabar, Warri, and Port Harcourt, as well as payment options for settling clearing bonds and alleviating the strain on dollar usage in the country. The above is a mere insight into what we should expect from this year's symposium. You are all mostly welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Collins. Very brief and, of course, welcome remark. Thank you so much. I heard you clearly that the federal government had huge increase from the subsidy removal. Yes, I agree. I think what Nigerians are concerned about is how we will have those income affect positively the citizenry. And I believe the discussion here today will be also focusing on those areas. Thank you so much, sir. Right, we will have quickly the welcome remark or opening remark by the president of the chamber, Achiwaju Dr. Michael Olale Cole, ably represented here today by the deputy president, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA. Let's put our hands together for the president.
The Honorable Minister for Petroleum Gas, ably represented by Engineer Abel Igeye, the representative of the Port Authority, representatives of the core regulatory agency, the authority, representative of NIMASA, the panelists, the vice presidents, and members of LCCI who are here present, including the DG. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the President, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this forum that is on the theme, Regulations of the Downstream Oil and Gas in a Post-Subsidy Environment. And nearly 70 years after the discovery of crude oil in commercial quantity in Nigeria, Nigeria's oil and gas downstream sector is yet to develop the desired levels despite the recent enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act. The downstream sector of the oil and gas industry had the least foreign direct investment compared to midstream and upstream, and the reason for this is not far-fetched. The subsidy regime and the legal framework for the downstream sector generally repel investments. The Nigeria oil and gas downstream market size is expected to grow from 1 million barrels per day in 2023 to about 1.3 million barrels per day by 2028, at a compound annual growth rate of 3.5% during the forecast period of 2023 to 2028. However, the federal government has not shown a strong desire to have a well-established domestic refining industry that will drive the market during this forecast period. The downstream sector needs full deregulation if it will attract more private investments. The country's growing population of about 2.4% in the last 5 years, which has obviously resulted in rising energy demand, has underpinned industry output, leading to an annual growth rate of 5% above the last 5 years. However, the effects of the Russian-Ukraine war, particularly its disruptive impact on global supply of crude oil, has led to elevated oil prices, not just in Nigeria, but everywhere else in the world. The removal of petroleum subsidy in Nigeria, which sparked a surge in prices from 568 to 568 at the beginning from 185, is anticipated to lower demand from low and middle income households in the short to medium term. Nevertheless, we note that the discontinuation of the subsidy regime on paper in June 2023 to be a positive game changer for the economy, as it is estimated to save the government at least 6 trillion annually, as well as allow for full deregulation of the oil and gas downstream sector. A slew of issues, including volatile oil prices, pipeline vandalization, crude oil theft, disruptions in oil supplies, non-functional refineries, have hampered the industry's growth potential and caused it to operate suboptimally. Nonetheless, the promise of 650,000 barrels per day from the Dangote refinery, the 200,000 barrels per day from the Boa refinery in Akwa Ibom, and other state-owned refineries, with a combined refining capacity, hopefully, of 445,000 barrels per day, suggests that the era of Nigeria importing refined oil may soon be over, but we don't know how soon. And the industry can begin to enjoy a more stable supply of refined oil. This is in addition to the new terminal facilities and also the PIA, establish a framework for new regulations which include midstream and downstream petroleum operations, petroleum measurement, assignment or transfer of license permits, natural gas pipeline tariff, gas pricing, domestic demand delivery, and petroleum transportation and shipment introduced by the authority, which we believe are set to propel the industry forward. With emerging economies struggling to squeeze every dollar out of foreign direct investment that they can, the regulation needs to be implemented to win over the confidence of investors. As we discuss these regulations, the regulations necessary for post-subsidy era, we must also consider broader economic implications and the imperative for a stable economic future. as bureaucracy gets rooted out in favor of a more efficient process. Downstream economic liberalization can play a very active role in ensuring that consumers have easy access to energy supplies and products. In the spirit of collaboration and knowledge exchange, I am confident that our deliberations today will pave the way for insightful solutions and innovative approaches to navigating the complexities of the downstream oil and gas sector in Nigeria's post-subsidy environment. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you a productive and enlightening conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for your always inspiring opening remarks in all of our events. Thank you so much, sir. Today is a good day for us because we have so many stuff, positive things loaded in the program for us. We have about 4 of our speakers who are here with solutions to some of the issues we are going to raise or that has been raised over time. So first, we'll take the first speaker, who is the MD CEO, Nigerian Port Authority, Mr. Mohammed Bello Koko, ably represented here today by Mr. Durowaye Ayodele, the General Manager, Nigerian Port Authority. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Durowaye.
Good morning. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Is it there? Can you guide me? We have. Okay. I'll try as much as possible. Okay. 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 Morning, the representative of the Honorable Minister, the President, LCCI, the former Minister of Interior, representative of the leadership of MOMAN, and let me stand on all other existing protocol. Let me start by saying this morning that the removal of fuel subsidy is not something that was not expected, particularly by operators in the downstream oil and gas sector of the economy. So it's not a big surprise to most people. This decision, I believe, was partly canvassed by the operators of the downstream sector of the economy. So I think that is the background. I represent the Managing Director, Nigerian Ports Authority, who ordinarily had wanted to be here himself this morning. He wanted to be here because of the importance of the subject in discussion, and also to have an opportunity to engage at a personal level with operators and practitioners in the industry. I serve in the office of the Managing Director as a General Manager. So I will be speaking in this conference with focus on port strategies to promote seamless import of petroleum products. What do we do as an authority and how has that impacted the business of practitioners in this industry, in this sector of the economy, particularly the downstream. I'll start by saying that the primary business of Nigerian Ports Authority is cargo handling. This we have achieved over the years by providing two major services: service to ship and then service to cargo. The element of service to cargo has been outsourced to private operators. Well, let me say, even long before we did the concession under the port reform, our interface with operators of the downstream sector of the economy preceded that, because we have this relationship that prepared the way for construction of jetty. So service to ship involves MPA pilot meeting with the vessel at the fairway buoy or anchorage. MPA pilot brings the vessel into the port, berths it. If tug is required in terms of towway services, MPA provides towway services, and then the vessel is moored for stability while all of this is happening and is reversed. Let me emphasize here and now that actually we operate a compulsory pilotage environment in the maritime sector, which requires that a vessel coming into the pilotage district will be guided into berth as a standard operating procedure. So, like I said, pre-2005, 2006, MPA was operating every aspect of the port. But from 2005, 2006, following the port reform, the cargo element in port operation was outsourced to private terminal operators. And today we have about 24 of them, with each port delineated into specific terminals, giving them specialization. But for the purpose of this presentation, what we do as an authority to support the downstream sector are the things that we are going to focus on. And one of the major aspects is what I just explained: provision of pilotage, towage, and mooring services. When you look at the fact of volume in terms of what is being brought in by the downstream sector operator, the best and the cheapest mode of moving that will be to employ our services. And that is why different sizes of vessels are brought into different port locations, restricted only by certain infrastructural deficiencies that we'll highlight later. So piloted towage and mooring services is a key issue we do. We also provide, like I said, infrastructural facilities in the form of port, berthing facilities in the port for the use. We have many boats, NMPC and private jetties across the country, and I believe at the right time it will be projected on the screen. But we also have ports that play host to petroleum products. In ports like Calabar, when we have very difficult issues, actually petroleum tankers come alongside and they berth at the mainland port, and we provide the necessary fire cover and allow discharge. Another very important service we provide to support the downstream sector is the equipment complement that we provide. Every port where you go, like I said, in terms of towage support, have tugs that support the services of these vessels that come to discharge. And like I said, we operate a compulsory pilotage environment. Lately, we acquired 280 bollard pull tugs to support the operation in the Lekki axis. And at least another 2 are in order as we speak. We have analyzed the activities in this part of Lagos State, and we believe there are growth potentials there. We also provide dredging support, the equivalent of having a road where cars, trucks, and other vehicles can pass safely is the channel for vessels that come at our port. And so a lot of money in foreign exchange is deployed to ensure that we have these services readily available. And in areas like the Lagos environment and Port Harcourt Bonny Port Harcourt piloted district, where we have joint venture relationship, we notice that the size of vessels that are arriving in those ports are larger than the areas where we are currently having some challenges and which we are dealing with. For example, in the Warri piloted district, the restriction to the port is not actually that of the size of the vessel, but is the quantity of cargo that can be brought in. And that is simply because the breakwater has collapsed. So if you bring any tanker that is carrying in excess of maybe 15,000 metric tons, then there's a danger that the tanker may find it very difficult to come into the port successfully. And I would like to say to this audience that we are not actually resting on our oars on this issue. The consultancy service for the project to build the breakwater has been completed, and advert for bidding by contractors is expected to come out soon. And what we are doing in this area is to ensure that the size of vessels that can approach this environment can be larger, and the quantity of cargo that can also be carried through can increase significantly. Calabar is very unique in that we know that if we are successful in improving the volume in Calabar, service to the northeast by bridging trucks going there will be a lot easier. So Calabar is actually also in focus. But we have some challenges with what was supposed to be the Calabar Channel Management Company. But there's a presidential directive on that all cases relating to that should actually be withdrawn. And I believe that that is actually the beginning of finding a lasting solution to the dredging issues that we face in that environment. Then the elephant in the room, which is the issue of tariff and the problems associated with it, both in terms of the perception of the people we serve and actually the challenges that we are facing internally. Even while seated here today, it was an issue that we had to discuss without actually reaching any conclusion. But I would like to say this, that the managing director has actually constituted several study groups on this issue. So during the discussion we had, we believe that if the Nigerian Ports Authority is called upon, we have a few issues that we can put on the table about some of the problems associated with our kind of business, and maybe we can jointly provide solutions that will ensure we continue to exist, and those who are providing the services will also be able to thrive in their business. A lot of the services we provide, particularly issues relating to dredging, issues relating to building the breakwaters that allows, that gives comfort to shipping, are denominated in US dollars. So to get the service to our clients, we have to spend significantly and in millions in US dollars. So when we face the challenge of saying that we should denominate our charges in Naira, we look at the gyration in the foreign exchange market, and it's difficult for us to understand. So, but I would say that we are open. We want to have a honest discussion about this issue. And the people we are discussing with, we call for understanding, to also see where we are coming from so that we can have a very, very fruitful discussion. And then another point that we need to make here is that the authority does not even have the power to review its tariff. And I think Oga said the authority will be taken to a higher authority. And we are open, we are willing to have this honest discussion to see whether we can have a review. Since 1993, the authority has actually not reviewed its tariff. We have made proposal, but for social reasons, higher authorities have said, stay where you are for now. The economy is evolving and people are facing a lot of challenges. So I am representing Nigerian Ports Authority. I'm interested in knowing in details the areas where our charges are seen to be high, and we have raised one or two of them. We want to engage, but we want also to engage with an open mind. Another area where we believe we support the services in the downstream sector is in traffic management along the port corridor. Our experience in Apapa showed, and most of us that live in Lagos can relate to the fact that at a point in the Lagos area, trucks were staying on the bridge. The record we have shows that the turnaround time for trucks ingressing the port, going into the port to take cargo, was at that time, 2-3 years back, about more than 10 days. More than 10 days, they stay on the bridge. While on the bridge, they are charged demurrage. The shipping line is charging until the container is dropped. So the Nigerian Ports Authority introduced the electronic call-off for trucks that requires batching and sequencing of trucks using time belts, because you have different categories of trucks that are approaching the port, including sometimes trucks of your members, maybe those that are, so they come into the port. So we introduced the electronic call-off system, and it was successful because it reduced the turnaround time from maybe 10 days to about 48 hours. More than that, the cost for lifting a box from the port to Ikeja within Lagos Metropolis was reduced from about 1.2 million to about 300,000. But it is going up now because of certain challenges that we are facing again. So we believe that experience can be deployed to the Lekki axis. In fact, initially when Pinnacle and the rest started operating there, Lagos State government came to us to have a discussion because we were partners in addressing the issue in Apapa. And I believe that same expertise can be deployed if we are looking at the issue of cost, even before as it gets to the final consumer. So we believe as a port authority on these issues, we are hands-on. We, as an authority, as I conclude, because of the time, we are conscious of emerging developments signaling this evolution in the new downstream oil and gas sector, given the deregulation of the sector. We are keen as an authority to play a role in revitalizing the sector, make it more competitive, and I believe we are all for that. And the evidence of what we have done as an authority shows that if we go continually, if we address the issues we face in terms of dredging, if we address it fundamentally, ports like Delta Port, Warri specifically, and ports like Calabar will provide opportunity for more volumes going there. And if more volumes going there, it will not only ease off the pressure in this area, but it will provide an opportunity for bridging towards the northeast. Some of our ports play host to tankers of up to 200 LOA and vessels of 40 to 60,000 GRT of PMS. They bat at private ports in the Lagos area. In the Port Harcourt, in the Bonny Port Harcourt piloted district, I think we handle vessels of 20 to 25 and slightly above GRT in those areas. But in Warri and Calabar, when you have volumes in excess of 15,000, we begin to struggle. And that underscores the need for us to look at the issue of dredging more fundamentally and to also work hard to prepare the ground for this emerging trend that we see. We have provided technical support in vetting and supervising private sector-led construction of jetties in all the piloted districts. We are very bullish in seeking solutions that address challenges, and we are open in an environment like this to take in information that will help us. We are bullish in seeking solutions that will address challenges that will propel growth of the economy and the development of the communities where we operate. So MP is happy to be here. MP is happy to be participating in this conference. MPA is open. The managing director himself is attending the IMO conference. Otherwise, he actually wanted to be here physically and then engage at a personal level with practitioners so that maybe there'll be, he can take notes that he can take back, and then we look at this issue even more critically. Thank you for the opportunity here today.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's put our hands together for the Nigerian Port Authority for that beautiful presentation. Thank you so much. Just before we have our second guest speaker, let me do a few recognitions of our leaders and stakeholders that joined us while we started, or while the program was ongoing. We had with us Dame Winfred Apani. She is the chairperson of DAPMAN and the chief executive officer of Northwest Petroleum. Let's put our hands together for Mrs. Apani. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. She's one woman that tread where men walk. Yes, we also have with us the Captain Emmanuel here, and I'm told she's the chairman, Integrated Oil and Gas, former Minister of Interior. Let's put our hands together for the former minister. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Robert Dachman, MD, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Pinnacle Oil and Gas. Thank you so much. I've seen him here since. I just got your name. We have Mr. Emmanuel Umoje, Executive Director, Rain Oil. Mr. Emmanuel. All right, thank you so much too. Thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Chike, please pardon me with his own name, Dr. Chike Moagalu and Alcan Petroleum and Gas Limited. Dr. Chike, thank you so much. I will take a special course on how to pronounce your name. Thank you so much, Dr. Chike. We also have with us Mr. Mohammed Salauddin, Executive Director, Retail Services, Northwest Petroleum. Right, thank you so much. Mr. Femi Adewole, Executive Secretary, DAPMAN. Mr. Adewole, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Mr. Clement Isong, Executive Secretary, MOMAN. Thank you so much, sir. I've been seeing your face. They just gave me your name. Engineer O.P. Singh, Executive Director, Technical, Northwest Petroleum. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, that done. I will do others as soon as I have them. We will need to listen to the second speaker, guest speaker today, Mr. Farouk Ahmed. I'm sure is ably represented here today by Mr. Ayuba Steve, Senior Technical Advisor, STA, to the chair. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Steve Ayuba. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. So once again, okay, good morning. We're almost getting into afternoon. Representative of the Honorable Minister of Gas here present, the President of LCCI, and all the officials of that very important agency, the CEOs of very critical stakeholder companies in the downstream value chain of the oil and gas industry of Nigeria, and all the other distinguished participants in this very important meeting this morning. Please permit me to stand on the already established protocol. This morning, Engineer Farouk, the Authority Chief Executive of NMDPRA, asks us firstly to convey his sincere apologies for also not being able to make this very important meeting this morning. And the reason why that is so is because he is actually en route now to what all of us know is globally happening on COP28. And he had wished that he would have been here to deliver what he asked us to do for him. But he asks that we extend his apologies and to then also convey the continuous support of the NMDPRA, whom, of course, have worked with practically all the key stakeholders of the downstream sector to ensure that this sector continues to provide the very critical value that our economy needs. He has been asked to speak on a very important subject, which you will permit us to use the few slides that has been prepared to share our thoughts as the NMDPRA. And the subject he's been asked to speak on is CNG, that's compressed natural gas option. We are going to be speaking on the challenges and the opportunities that exist with the use of compressed natural gas in Nigeria. To take us through that this short discussion, we are going to try to use one or two slides to then just set a background upon which every investor that is here represented should try and understand with respect to the great omnibus opportunities that Nigeria has, with respect to the huge gas resources that we have. Because clearly, compressed natural gas is then one of those commodity streams that are associated with a very robust value chain segment of the oil and gas in Nigeria. And then we'll take a few slides to then put, again, before this very important meeting, the opportunities that the regulators clearly see in this very important sector of our economy. We will then take one or two slides to then expose us to some of the critical enablers that both the federal government, the minister, the regulator, of course, in collaboration with all our stakeholders, enablers that are being aggressively worked upon to then ensure that our gas market is developing on a path and a trajectory that can then receive any investment and all the investments that are required. Engineer Farouk was asked to speak about challenges and mitigation, so we have a slide that will talk about that. And then, most importantly, we're then going to round up with discussing all the key initiatives that government has. So as a preamble, we're going to find that Nigeria, so all of us know this, everybody that plays in the industry clearly understands this, that Nigeria is a country that is abundantly blessed with huge gas resource. So our gas resource on a proven basis, as at this year, it's 209 trillion cubic feet of gas. If you do a comparison of the energy content that this gas resource has, you're going to find that this gas resource can provide a little bit more than what our crude oil resource has. So if you take the barrel oil equivalent of the proven gas resource that we have, you're then just going to find that our gas resource actually carries extensive value that can then drive the much required economic development that we need. Now, if you move the 209 trillion cubic feet into what we know actually Nigeria can produce as gas, then you can almost very easily see that Nigeria is actually more of a gas resource state than even the crude oil that Nigeria has been known with for a long time. Our gas resources are derived from both associated gas and non-associated gas. Now, secondly, for the subject of the day, which we're going to be discussing, CNG, the PMS price deregulation incentive has then clearly created an opportunity where the sector that CNG plays in has become a very important sector that literally every strategic effort needs to be associated with. So we're glad that this policy initiative, that this policy direction has been in place by the federal government. And like we've heard from some of the opening remarks, we can see that this policy directive of the deregulation of the PMS is already creating the kind of economic impact that is required. But you're going to find in the course of this discussion that clearly, because this policy initiative has come into place, opportunities that CNG, for example, requires has then been greatly magnified. PIA, regulatory and legal framework, is then the regulatory instrument that is guiding practically everything that the regulator, NMDPRA inclusive, is having to undertake to then ensure that all the strategic objectives of the PIA are effectively realized. PIA, being a rule-based regulatory framework, has in place focused instruments that will enable growth of the domestic and the gas market. And then potentially, because everybody that plays here is playing in a market, and then a lot of our business performances are then tied to how the markets that we play in perform. You'll then find that clearly the CNG ecosystem is then bringing into play a market space that has huge opportunities that anyone that is playing in the energy value chain must then really be thinking of exploiting. Now, just to then go a little bit further into how the gas sector plays, you are then going to find that in the gas sector that there are clearly commodities that are traditional commodities that are associated with this sector. So we're discussing CNG today, and that's why we have CNG as the first. So CNG is compressed natural gas. It's compressed natural gas because there are a few basic ways that natural gas can then be made available at any point where natural gas is required. One of the very conventional ways where how natural gas can then be delivered to where natural gas is required is pipeline. But in the absence or in the constraint of having available pipeline capacities, what the industries has evolved to then create as ready alternative to then ensure that natural gas is made available to wherever natural gas is required is the development of an evolving virtual pipeline system. And in that virtual pipeline system, you then find that CNG is very key. In the CNG value chain, you then have three major sub-segments of activities. You need to take the natural gas and then compress the natural gas into a state and a condition where you can then transport it in special cylinder facilities to any location where CNG can then be put to use. So just looking at that value chain already, you will find that there are huge investment opportunity segments just in the CNG value chain. If you're not playing in the CNG value chain, the liquefied natural gas market segment is then another important market segment in the gas value chain where any investor can also come in and then play either as developing, operating, and maintaining LNG liquefaction plants, or providing transportations for LPG, which can be by maritime vessels, or like we see a lot of what is being done in Nigeria now, the use again of very special purpose storage tanks that can then be trucked across the country. And then once LNG is then transported to any point where LNG is required, you will then need to regasify that LNG into the natural gas that you then require to use it for all the various uses that natural gas is taken into. And then LPG, of course. We know the LPG value chain is clearly an established market segment. So to the first point that we are asked to speak about today for this conference or for this workshop, Mr. Farouk has been asked to discuss opportunities in the emerging gas sector, and then we are emphasizing on CNG. Now, in spite of the headwinds that we're seeing in global funding, I mean, all of us, again, that play in the industry, we clearly know how the trajectory in the industry is tracking with respect to the need to then reduce the global footprint that the world thinks our industry is contributing to. And some of the clear global strategies that we're seeing are beginning to impact some of the very easier available funds that could then be taken into projects to continue to develop this very important sector that we all work in. But in spite of those headwinds of global funding squeeze for hydrocarbon-based projects, aggressive drives towards net zero emission initiative, the Nigerian gas sector is poised to grow in view of Africans' energy poverty level, and concerted efforts of African leaders are being undertaken to ensure that our energy transition is then driven in a manner where our energy resource is then optimally utilized to create the kind of economic development that we need. And if you look at these 8 points, you will then find that each of them presents clear opportunities that playing in the CNG value segment can create for any investor that comes into this sector. Number one, through the use of CNG, you will then find that the infrastructural deficit that we have, for example, in our pipeline infrastructure, to then ensure that gas is made available to every gas demand point across the country. Through the use of CNG as a virtual pipeline system, you'll find that that gas infrastructural gap can then be aggressively mitigated. There are major projects that are being undertaken to ensure that pipeline natural gas, it's in a few years from now, is optimally available across the country in such a manner that natural gas can then continuously be used to either generate power or become the feedstocks for gas-based industry, or where you're not using gas to generate power or as a feedstock for producing commodities that will come out from natural gas. You can use natural gas as an element in your factors of production across various industries that play. But because pipelines are not available, a lot of those opportunities have not been taken up optimally. But then the use of CNG can then be used to bridge the gap that we have in infrastructural deficiency. Number two, so the fuel market. The fuel market, you find that CNG, so apart from driving energy, so CNG can be used to actually generate power. You can take CNG, generate power. But then you can use CNG as an auto fuel. And then the auto fuel market segment, it's a segment that we see will continue to possibly grow. Targeting over 12 million vehicles plus an annual average of 400,000 vehicles import, the rate of conversion for CNG to be used as an alternative fuel to the conventional fuels that we've always known, which is PMS and diesel, is a huge opportunity that any investor that wants to then operate in the CNG value market segment can take. So the market is expansive. It will continue to grow as we continue to push for more adaptation of CNG as a ready alternative of transportation fuel in Nigeria. Clearly also looking at the push to then ensure that our oil and gas industry is developing on energy transition part that is consistent with what the global aspirations are. CNG then clearly emerges for us as a form of cleaner fuel initiatives, which you're going to find continuously Nigeria is going to use to then ensure that diesel, PMS, where it's not available at a spec and a quality that might be meeting the global aspiration of decarbonization, CNG will then be a ready substitute for that kind of fuel. Looking at the affordability of CNG, we're going to see a slide in the course of our discussion. You then find that with the deregulation that we have in PMS now, clearly the market is feeling the squeeze of what has happened to the pricing regime that the conventional fuels that we have in Nigeria have. But when you look at the affordability that CNG creates, then you're going to find that progressively CNG's adaptation is going to continue to provide more affordable energy for Nigeria. Clearly, because CNG can then enable Nigeria to then use more of the natural gas resource that we have with the attendant economic values that are associated with it, whether revenue, fiscal benefits that Nigeria can have. You find that CNG clearly has an opportunity to then ensure that our economy is growing. There's the need for our gas sector to then ensure that we're not wasting any resource that Nigeria has as a country that is blessed with gas. So currently we still flare gases at proportion that really just goes to show that we're just wasting very precious resources. If you take about 1,000 standard cubic feet of gas and it's flared, you can almost do a back of the hand computation of what is being lost, whether in jobs, whether in energy, whether in cleaner electricity, whether in powering our vehicles. So clearly, the need to ensure that gas flaring is commercialized. You find that one of the major project proposals that have been put by all the prospective flare off-takers is the use of our flare to then convert those flares to CNG. It's very important to also know that CNG is then a ready instrument for us as a country or for any investor that is here who is already playing in the oil and gas value chain to use to diversify your energy portfolio. Progressively again, you're going to find, we'll see the initiatives that government are taking, that if you're looking at any quick wins on how to diversify your energy portfolio, then CNG is the way to go. And then clearly, because CNG takes feedstock from the upstream, as the CNG industry grows, you're then going to find that a lot of the incentives that we are having in the upstream sector to produce more gas is going to ensure that our CNG sector grows. So these are some of the opportunities that we have emerging from the CNG subsector. Now the CNG subsector is one of the key elements in the entire gas value chain. But if you put it on a 4-bulleted point, and you then want to ask yourself, what are the clear potential benefits that gas utilization in Nigeria has, which clearly CNG is a major component of that, you're going to find that there are four major potential benefits. Number one, globally, gas is becoming a more acceptable, cleaner fuel for every form of energy use that traditional fuels has provided. Number two, for Nigeria, you're going to find that because we have huge availability of gas, then clearly the use of our gas will then, like we saw on the potential, the use of our gas must then be strategically focused to then ensure that we elicit all of those benefits that we have. And then, of course, the increase in the accessibility of cheaper fuels, like we saw. So now, at the price that PMS is going for, if you do the energy computation of the equivalent price of CNG, you will find that really CNG and other energy sources clearly offer a more affordable, cleaner source of fuel. So acceptability, availability, accessibility, and affordability. Again, a lot of us know this, so this is a bit of detailed indicative advantages around the use of gas. So we have propane and we have CNG, particularly when you're using gas for power generation. They are indicative figures, but then some of the points to highlight is when you look at the average cost of refueling, clearly, when you transit to the use of gas, particularly CNG, definitely you're going to have substantial savings in the cost of your fuel. when you look at the environmental cost benefits, when you transit from the use of your AGO, which is a traditional, conventional fuel, to either using any of the gas fuel sources, particularly CNG, you will find that the environmental advantages that you have is strong. And I need to add that the safety of operating the different fuel systems that we have, technically, you're going to find that truly CNG, for example, has, much, much better safety features. I'll just keep this. It's the same thing we've had, same thing we've said, better safety and environmental benefits. And then just to add here, so you want to ask, so if CNG is being encouraged, what are we already seeing in the market segment as regulators? What we're already seeing in the market segment as regulators, particularly using the regulatory instrument that we have, which is licensing facilities. From 2017 into 2022, we really began to see growth around the CNG market segment. You can see the trend on CNG facilities, how licensed facilities have then been growing over the years. This map then just gives us, again, an indication of what is happening around the country. So clearly around the country, you'll find that there are footprints of various dimensions of gas-related activities. And then what are the challenges? So we're asked to speak about this. Clearly, challenges has to do with supply and availability. So because CNG takes its feedstock from upstream, the clear availability of upstream supply of gas needs to be adequately addressed. Infrastructures that will then require that when CNG is produced, CNG is made available across every point of demand for CNG. It's a challenge. Then the refueling stations, again, it's a challenge. So if you have fuel that can be used, but you don't have points where that fuel can be accessed, it can then become a constraining challenge. And then the associated risks with conversion kits and all of that. What are the mitigations that are being taken? So favorable PIA fiscal regime, host community development fund to then ensure that gas production is sustained. Frontier exploration fund to then ensure that gas availability, upstream gas availability is guaranteed. Some of the mitigative measures that were taken. Because it's almost like a green business environmental space, the MDGIF, which is the Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructural Fund, has then been introduced by PIA to then help de-risk this very important segment. And de-risk it in a manner where the critical infrastructure are being supported by this fund to then ensure that infrastructure is available. Retail stations, licensing regime, are being optimized to leverage on existing infrastructure and regulation on mass transit to run on CNG. Quite a lot is already done in this space. There are some operators that really adopted the use of CNG very well, and then you'll find that a lot of some of their massive transportation infrastructures are running on CNG. And lastly, we're developing regulatory compliance framework for operators to then ensure that our kits or infrastructures are made available. Last slide, the second to the last slide is, so what is the government doing that you can look onto and know that consistently this drive for greater or deeper adoption of the use of CNG will be sustained? There are practically 4 programs of government that I'm sure a lot of us either part and parcel of what is being done. The Decade of Gas started with natural gas purely in the first phase. But now in the second phase, you find that Decade of Gas is then adopting CNG in all the strategic outlook that Decade of Gas is working on to then ensure that between now and 2030, that the adoption of CNG can then be highly, highly optimized. Gas flare commercialization, I mentioned that already. A lot of the proposals, the project proposals that were made for taking flares, gas from the flares, are projects that will then be converting those gases to CNG at site. The Nigerian Gas Expansion Program, I can see a lot of us worked in the Nigerian Gas Expansion Program. CNG was one of the mainstreams of the Nigerian Gas Expansion Program. And then very recently, of course, the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas, which the current regime of our president is driving very extensively. So we know these enablers, cost-reflective gas pricing frameworks are being developed around TIA funding. MDGIF is an enabler, rule-based and transparent licensing regime. Again, we are working together with all our stakeholders to ensure that these enablers are made available. And last but not the least, our collaboration with our stakeholders. This is the last slide. And we normally like to conclude our presentations on the last slide to say, NMDPRA is open to working very closely with its stakeholders to ensure that investment are driven into any of the value chain segment that we are regulating. Once investment are driven, for example, we're speaking about CNG today. Once investment is driven into CNG, you're going to find that through that accomplishment, we will be driving industry and market growth. And then once we're doing that, we do that on a highly sustainable manner. So thank you very much for inviting Mr. Farouk. And we're here, of course, we can take many more further discussions on any areas of this slide, which we didn't take into sufficient details. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together again for Mr. Ayuba Steve, representing the Mr. Farouk Ahmed. Thank you so much for a well done, good job. I'm sure Mr. Farouk, listening to you or watching you online, will be very proud that you did a very nice job. I'm very proud that you did a very nice job. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Steve. Thank you so much. I know you have questions for our guest speakers. I will urge that you please note your questions. We will have a time where they can respond to comment or your questions or your concerns, as the case may be. Right, we get to have our third speaker, guest speaker, the DG of NASIMA, the DG of NIMASA. Sorry, DG of NIMASA, Dr. Bashiri Jamo, represented here today by Dr. Awal Bamaga. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Bamaga. I want to transport Bamaga to NASIMA. Thank you so much. He's from NIMASA.
Thank you, MC. Is this one working?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Okay.
Let's go back.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I want to start by thanking the LCCI for inviting NIMASA. On behalf of my DG, Dr. Bashir Jamo, who is unavoidably absent, attending an international engagement at the International Maritime Organization, like my colleague said from MPA, the General Assembly of IMO is going on now. So I'm here to present his own topic given to us, which is eliminating vulnerability of Nigerian waterways to petroleum product import incidents. This topic was given to us. We are not the one that designed the topic. It's given to us by the LCCI. So what we did is to align this topic with our mandate of what we do in the transport or shipping sector. Now, as you can see, the topic says eliminating vulnerability of Nigerian waterways to petroleum products import incidents. It looks like we're talking about the safety, we're talking about the marine environment, we're talking about the petroleum products and the imports. So before going further, my name is Dr. Awal Bamanga. I'm an assistant director with the Department of Marine Environment Management. And what we do is to monitor pollution in marine environment to ensure compliance with the International Convention as well as the Merchant Shipping Act. So we align this topic with our mandate. So let me go straight to the presentation outline. We're going to look at the introduction to shipping and the marine environment. Definitely when you're doing transport of petroleum products is part of shipping. And when you're doing shipping, again, marine environment is the custodian of shipping. We're going to look at the vulnerability to the movement of this petroleum product. We'll also look at the legal framework, the role of NIMASA, what gives us this power to regulate the industry, and then the efforts the agency is making in combating the threats to this marine ecosystem, and then the role of agency in downstream regulation on post-subsidy removal, and then the role of the agency in dredging of Eastern Port, Calabar, and then our projection in 2024 plan, as well as business opportunities. Because this is where the LCCI will come now. It's the business opportunities they want to know. Now, when I'm talking about this, looking at the role of shipping and the environment as well as the regulatory agency as derived from the United Nations, the IMO, and NIMASA. Because of course, without this safety of the environment or prevention of marine pollution, we will not be talking about the business here again. Because if the sea is not there, there's no way the petrol products can move from one point to the other. Now, this is the introduction. We already know global shipping, 90%, not only petroleum products, almost everything, 90% moves through shipping. And this statistic everybody knows, including the finished products, which we're going to be talking about today. The petroleum products moves 90% through shipping. And where does these ships come from? Where are they coming from? Of course, from the sea. So we're going to look at the first vulnerability issue is the marine environment. And of course, if that environment is not there, we won't be talking about this today. Now, this is the marine environment as seen by the operators, not by the scientists now, as seen by the operators. If you look at it, the marine environment consists of the fresh water, that is the inland waterways, which mostly support this movement of this product. Whether you are bringing product from Warri, from Port Harcourt to Lagos, you move in inland waterways, so it needs to be protected. Then the fresh water consists of the baseline water, the territorial water up to 12 nautical miles, where the ports are situated now. This is where the ports are situated. You can see 12 nautical miles. And then we have mandate up to 200 nautical miles. That is our jurisdictional area. That is our jurisdictional area. So anything that happens from fresh water up to 200 nautical miles in terms of either export or import, the agency has regulatory mandate to ensure the safety and prevention of marine pollution. So this map is showing the, as maritime operators, that is how the map appears, not the scientific aspect, looking at the survival of the species or ecotourism. This purely maritime map, and it's an international zonation of the maritime environment. Now, the vulnerability we're talking about, we classified it into four. We look at the security vulnerability, the economic vulnerability, the environmental vulnerability, and the social impact vulnerability. These are the four groups of vulnerability that we are tackling, which is also in line with our mandate. Now, I'm going to talk about, I don't know what you can see there. I don't know what this, it looks like piracy, sea armed robbery. I don't know what kind of business one can do if these incidents are there. People from Niger Delta can testify that. If this issue is there, whether it's within the port or anywhere you have these threats, it means your business is not safe. Do you agree with me? Your business is not safe. So what you are seeing there is the high incidence of piracy, smuggling, anything can happen here. That means your business is not safe. I can show you the other one. This is the coastal security. It looks like community, but if there is conflict in this community, I don't think if it's safe for whatever products to move, or people, or business, or whatever. So we also need to take into consideration the conflict in coastal communities. They are the coastal dwellers. They live within all these places. If you go to Ogogoro village now, you find these coastal dwellers. As you move into the creeks, if there's conflict there, they can also attack you. So many things can happen. They can bomb even the tank farms. So the business is threatened. Now the coastal poverty, we don't need to leave them in the poverty again, because poverty can lead to so many things. And then evaluation of the impact of amnesty. I'm sure some of us are aware of the amnesty that was given, just to pardon these people, to ensure that the militancy is being reduced. The third one is the militancy attack. I don't know what you can see there. You might not even see their face. Yes, in Niger Delta, they appear like this, an attack. This combined, they can even do because of political issue, they can go and bomb it, just to bomb it, and say, let's just bomb the pipeline. I'm sure many people are aware of Tom Polo and the group. They have to give him the whole pipeline to secure it, just to secure the pipeline. I mean, I'm sure we're aware of that. So the security vulnerability is very, very important. We have to tackle it, and it's part of our mandate, because like I said, although I'm coming to the mandate of the agency, we have to ensure that our environment is safe, secured for shipping. And for any business to thrive, you must eliminate security vulnerability. Now, the second one is the economic vulnerability. Economic vulnerability characterized by loss of funds, loss of resources. Look at the petroleum. This is dilapidated sometime before the concession, the ports. Badly dilapidated. And you begin to wonder if there's leakage or pipeline or whatever, you will see that it can affect this loss of product. The impact on marine species. Fishermen depend, these are their own economic activities. We should not just keep talking about petroleum products, talking about our dredging, mining. The fishermen, to their own livelihood, economic livelihood, depend on this marine environment. So if this petroleum product is affecting kids, all their fish, then they have to go further looking for livelihoods. They lost their livelihoods. That's their own economic problem now, because they can no longer fish. That's what they do to feed their family, to do so many things. So they have to go further. And that's why you see, even in the ports now, they don't catch fish. Me, I can remember vividly, 20 years ago, I bought fish from the port, but now there's no port. Even the Nigerian Ports Authority is not asking why there is no fish here again. I don't know. This is, I'm giving you a living witness. So this is their own livelihood. So the impact on economic marine species, example fishes, high cost of levy by the importers is also something to look at it. It's an economic vulnerability. Fluctuation of exchange rates at the global market is also an economic problem. Now, I think one of my colleagues talks about on the infrastructure of ports. He said the dollars now, they spend millions of dollars to just improve on the infrastructure. It means if the high exchange rate is high, they may not be able to deliver on that mandate. And what happened? Then there's economic problem, because you cannot get that service the way you want. Because an importer doesn't want to come and stay in the port for 3 days and they end up staying 10 days. He's losing money. He's losing money. The delay in shipping processing documents is also another thing. The whole world is automating its own system now. I don't need to know, I don't have to come to Lagos to now face what is their procedure. From Japan, if I'm leaving, I should know what I'm going to expect in Lagos port. straight. That is automation. The world is moving. We need to do that. So high cost of importing, movement of product, war risk. I'm sure you are aware of the war risk. Who can tell me why the war, what is the key thing about the war risk? Why the war risk? Does anyone know? Yes, if your environment is not secured. So the ship owner will say, no. For me to take products to that part of the world, the cost of charging is going to be high. It's affecting us. So we have to secure the entire maritime domain. Yeah. Now, this is the environmental vulnerability. I don't know what you can see there. What is that? It's a spill. And you can see dead fish. It can come from any product that is refined or crude. Once it spills into the marine environment, and it doesn't stay in one place, it moves. It moves to sensitive areas like mangrove, breeding areas, and kill all the fish. And even ship to discharge in an polluted area by oil spillage, it causes delay. So this is the environmental vulnerability that we're looking at it. It can harm in several ways, destroy the ecosystem, whereby you cannot do the business there again. I'm sure you are aware of the blue economy now. The blue economy is not a new word. It comes from the ocean economy. Yes, it is there. But now we are focusing. What do we do? Let's eliminate all the threats to now utilize the ocean for economic prosperity. That's the word blue economy. It's how we explore the ocean and preserve the health of the ocean at the same time for sustainability. And it's not only shipping, because blue economy is beyond shipping. Other sectors too, they are part of it. So I will get there. Again, you can see now this is an era of emerging global warming. Whether we like it, whether we believe in it, climate change is real. Now, the maritime sector has been charged that they said what we are contributing to the global warming is higher because of what? I don't know. I'm going to ask the NMPDS because the oil the ships use is 2,700 times higher than the automobile. Though we don't have ships like cars, the emission from ships is very, very high that contributes to the global warming is 2,700 times higher than that of the automobile. Meaning that one ship can emit more than 1,000 or 10,000 cars at a go. Just one ship in your marine environment. Now, you can see the tank farms. This is the storage facility. This is storage facility. If you look at ground here, there's operational discharges. There may be leakage from this tank farm. And where does it go? And most of these tank farms are situated within the marine environment, whether it's coastal environment within the ports. And the fish that are living there now, we eat the fish. So what happened? It comes back to us. You might be thinking that you are looking at business, but your health too is being implicated, because if you eat the fish that is here with oil, that is the heavy metals from the oil that the ship, it will bioaccumulate in that ship, and we consume the ship, the fish. That is how it comes back to us. So these are part of the things that we are looking at, the threats. We have to secure our maritime domain. Still on social impact. Social impact is about the psychology of the people, the vulnerability. Now, one of them now is coastal resilience. I think I've made mention of it. How do these fishermen now adapt after losing their livelihood? This is the question. How do they adapt? Again, there's also health impact. I've mentioned it, because the presence of oil in the marine environment and you come in contact with it, it will affect your health. These are the social vulnerability. Now, I've talked about this, about the automation. I don't need to go back again. Whatever business that we're doing, either in importing or exporting, we need the current technology so that it can be so sophisticated. Yeah. Now, these are the threats now from the maritime. The oil discharge, the tanker accidents, accidental spillage, wastewater discharges, ballast water, marine machinery exhaust, and anti-fouling, including sound. These are the threats that can affect whatever business you are doing within the shipping industry. So you need to know, it's not only the regulators, the operators too need to know about this. Now, this rig, the vulnerability here is that taking this product to the point of storage, you need to be sure that it's done in an environmentally sound manner to ensure that it doesn't affect. This is a legal framework which the UN now is putting. The IMO is a branch of the United Nations to regulate shipping, to regulate the shipping. And NIMASA is implementing this IMO convention. One of the key conventions here is marine pollution, which is International Maritime Convention on the prevention and control of pollution emanating from not only the oil and gas. So this is the role of the agency. You can look at it. It has core mandate and promotional mandate. The safety mandate and then prevention of marine pollution. Then the promotional mandate has to do with the commercial shipping, where you belong. And then maritime labor, shipping and regulation. Because of this prevention of marine pollution, the agency established Marine Environment Management Department. These are the activities that the agency carries out: wreck removal, and these are the techniques that we use. One of the major ones that we carry is the provision of onshore and offshore waste reception facility. Now, we provide the offshore waste reception facility while the ports provide the onshore waste reception facility. But our mandate here is to ensure that this reception facility is adequate and the stakeholders are utilizing and is also available. Now, these are the certification. The question is that, what certification do I need and for what reason? The certification is for prevention. You need to comply with those certifications. And they are into 4 categories or 5. We have authorization, we have exemptions, we have manuals, and we have permits and levy. You can go online and look at, when you're going into the business of whether oil and gas lifting, what are the certifications do I require to comply with the preventive and control aspect. Now, this is the efforts what the agency has been doing. I'll soon round up. I have less than 3 or 4 slides. Now, the agency adopted the SPOMO Act in 2019. For what? For maritime security and other criminality. This has been domesticated. It is part of our law now. If you commit any criminal activities within our waters, you can be prosecuted according to this law. Now, we've initiated another one known as Deep Blue Sea Project. I'm sure maybe some of you are aware of it. We try to collaborate with the Navy, with the Army, police, and Air Force to provide this kind of integrated security of waterways protection. Now, we also implement some of our conventions to ensure free marine environment. We also introduced the baseline survey, environmental sensitivity mapping index. I'm going to take you straight to, I don't know whether if you are aware of this map. This map is a sensitivity mapping index. The question you ask yourself, if there's oil spillage in marine environment, what happened? What's the fate of that oil? What is the fate? The fate of that oil, it means that it doesn't stay in one place, it goes to sensitive area. And that is the map that we have generated. If we know this place is a sensitive area, all what you need to do, you now deploy your booming equipment to ensure that you contain that oil as quick as possible. And it's not only regulators alone that can do. It's not only regulators. The IOCs, you also have to prepare. Even the tank farm that are scattered, they also have what is called drill and oil pollution containment equipment. We can only collaborate with them. It depends on the type of oil that spill in the marine environment. Now, we have done also PSSA. That's a sensitive area. You know, it's not every part of marine environment that you make it for economic activities. Even the ship that is passing, there are some areas they don't need to pass because of your pipeline, because of your facility. Because if it affects your facility, then it will now lead to disaster. Those oil will be released and spread into the marine environment. Still on the efforts by the agency, but I'll quickly take you to what is our plan for next year. What we should be looking at next year, because I can see the timekeeper is telling me it's my time now. Now, what we are planning to do next year is that we are planning to integrate maritime policy that will enhance blue economy. It's not only the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy now. We want to have other sectors of the blue economy and have a policy document that can incorporate all of us together, including fishing sector. Now, we're going to look at adequate economic and legislative incentives also to drive this. We'll also be talking about the supportive of public and private sector. There are a lot of things that we are doing now. We have to introduce PPP to support the service that we are going to deliver to them. Now, ICT database for oil and gas, automation of all revenue generating payment system. Now, we want to eliminate it. We want to eliminate, the world is moving now. We cannot be doing all those manual things. You pay today, tomorrow, and all this. The businessmen are going to automate all our revenue generating payment system. Ensuring proper environmental design for ship recycling. You can say you want to go into that. And then continuous designation of dump site forex, and then full implementation of offshore waste reception facility. That will interest you. The offshore, how do we now manage the waste emanating from the offshore platform? So we are thinking of implementing, now we have already given gotten the contract and give it out. Now, business opportunities, investment in offshore oil platforms and pipelines, enhance exploration and exploitation of petroleum products once the environment is secured, is safe and secured. You can now then say you can invest in offshore. But if the environment is not secured, there's no way you can do that. And then promote business activities, including fishing industry. We're going to look at the deep sea and seabed mining. We're going to look at opportunities for investors to patronize the waterways for future business development, cutting across maritime, oil and gas, and other associated economic activities. Then finally, establishment of bunker station within Nigerian waters through PPP arrangement. I don't know whether, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have bunker station in Nigerian waters. Now, all these foreign vessels, when they want to take fuel, they have to go to Lomé. But I stand to be corrected. So we're going to encourage that so that we can have as big as the coastline that we have. We don't have bunker station. We're going to encourage business people to establish bunker station. Why should vessels go to Lomé to go and buy fuel for their big vessel and then live in Nigeria? So this is one of the business opportunities. Now, this is the final recommendation on smart ports technologies. It cut across 4 things: infrastructure, cargo handling, intermodal traffic, customs and levy collection, safety and security, then energy and environment. You can have it as one template. We can have one port in Africa. What I'm seeing in Lagos, when I go to Ghana, is the same thing. When I go to Cote d'Ivoire, it's the same thing. There's nothing that can stop us from having that. One port. Not that when I come to Lagos port, it's a different thing. When I go to Ghana port, it's a different thing. You're delaying business people. Let's automate and have one single port within the coast of Africa. Thank you for listening.
Dr. Bamaga, I'm sure you have dashed me your HP laptop. That's fine. Even though you have taken like 1 hour of my time, of our time, is also good. You know, when you give PhD holders opportunity to talk, they try to give us all the books in a single lecture. Thank you once again, Dr. Awal Bamaga, for doing a very good job representing our DG here in Nimasa. Thank you so much. All right, we are to listen right now to our 4th speaker, the Honorable Minister for State of Petroleum. But just before he mount the podium. Let me recognize Mr. Oladimeji Edwards, CEO Edge Energy Limited, represented by Fortune Chinaka. All right, Chinaka, you are welcome. We also had join us while Dr. Bamanga was on the podium, the chairman or chairperson of women's group here in SCCI, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Idowu. Madam, you're welcome. All right, thank you. Let's have this period. Let's listen to the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum and Resources Gas, ably represented here today by Engineer Ihe Hebel, Technical Advisor to the Honorable Minister. Let's put our hands together for Engineer Hebel.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The minister was supposed to be here, but he had an international engagement he had to attend to. I've been told that we're 5 behind, so I'll do a quick read. Allow me to stand on existing protocol. Distinguished members of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, esteemed industry stakeholders and valued guests, it is with great pride and profound sense of responsibility I stand before you today representing His Excellency, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, to speak on your annual conference themed Regulations of the Downstream Oil and Gas Sector in a Post-Subsidy Environment. I'll specifically be focusing on the challenges and opportunities associated with compressed natural gas as an option and its potential impact on the Nigeria economy. For years, the government has heavily subsidized the price of petroleum motor spirits, providing affordable energy sources to the masses. However, this subsidy-driven approach has proven unsustainable, draining our national resources and impeding the development of a self-sufficient energy sector. As a result, the government has taken the bold step of removing the subsidies, necessitating the exploration of alternative energy sources. The deregulation has had a major effect on the cost of goods and services, which has further highlighted the need for greater utilization and deeper penetration of natural gas in various forms to provide affordable and reliable energy for the country. One of the most promising alternative source of energy is compressed natural gas, which, as we know, is a cleaner and more environmentally friendly fuel, offering significant benefits in terms of reduced emission and improved air quality. Transitioning to CNG as a viable option in the downstream oil and gas sector can lead to a more sustainable and resilient economy. However, one of the challenges we face is the establishment of the necessary infrastructure for CNG distribution. This includes the construction of refueling stations and the conversion of vehicles to CNG compatibility, while also ensuring that safety standards required for the storage and transportation of CNG are met. To achieve the above requires significant investment and coordination between the government and the private sector. However, this challenge presents an opportunity for job creation and economic growth, as the development of this infrastructure requires an extensive workforce and technical expertise. Furthermore, the use of CNG can significantly reduce Nigerians' reliance on imported fuel, consequently reducing the strain on foreign exchange reserves. This has the potential to strengthen the value of our currency and stabilize our economy. Additionally, CNG can offer a more affordable and accessible energy option for transportation and power generation, benefiting industries and consumers alike. It is pertinent at this point to highlight some policies of the government to achieve gas utilization in the country, which include the National Gas Expansion Program, which is to promote the accelerated and broad utilization of gas. The 200 billion naira set aside in CBN as an intervention fund with a view to facilitating access to financing options and encourage the adoption of CNG technology. The recently set up Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative to drive the utilization of CNG, and the enactment of effective regulations to govern the sector. These regulations strike a delicate balance between protecting the interests of the consumers, ensuring fair competition, and attracting investment into the sector. The PIA has also created the Midstream and Downstream Gas Infrastructure Fund, whose purpose, amongst others, is to increase domestic consumption of natural gas in Nigeria by collaborating in part financing of projects by private investments. In conclusion, as we navigate the post-subsidy environment in the downstream oil and gas sector, we must seize the potentials presented by the CNG options. Yes, challenges lie ahead in terms of infrastructure development, but the benefits of CNG, which is reduced emission, improved air quality, and economic resilience, far outweighs the obstacles. Let us therefore work together in collaboration with relevant stakeholders to ensure the integration of CNG into the Nigeria energy landscape. In so doing, we can strengthen our economy, protect our environment, and secure a bright future for all Nigerians. Thank you for your attention, commitment, and contributions to our industry. God bless the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, God bless the oil and gas industry, and God bless the Republic of Nigeria.
Let's put our hands together again for the representative of the minister. God bless you, sir. The engineer Abel just did us a very good favor, shortening the time. I love that. Thank you so much, engineer. Right, we are going to another very critical session, the panel session. This will be moderated by Dr. Emeka Akabogo. Dr. Emeka, right? So you will moderate this session. So let me help you bring up panelists off stage. Then I'll give you the microphone. You take us on a ride to a better land. Right, first on the list is our leader in this industry. I'm tempted to refer to her as doctor. I believe that is in the works. Dame Winfred Akwani. She is the chairperson, that man, and CEO Northwest Petroleum. Let's put our hands together for her. I've listened to her, addressed gathering like this one. You will listen to her today. You know that she's a woman like a man. You will hear her very soon. Next, we have joining us online. He's been with us. I should have recognized him earlier. I'm sorry. Mr. Hob Stockman is the chair. Moman. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Stockman. Thank you, Mr. Stockman. Thank you. He's honored. All right. Last but not the least, we have Ms. Amina Jegede, Associate Director, Partner KPMG Professional Services. Let's put our hands together for Amina Jegede. With that done, let me hand over the microphone to Dr. Emeka Akabog. Dr. Emeka.
Yeah, thank you very much, MC, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're very much welcome to this afternoon session. Now, in the course of this morning or this afternoon session, we've had a review of what's been happening, and for us in this panel, what has been quite significant have been the presentations of the Honorable Minister this afternoon, and equally that of the Authority Chief Executive of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency. And that's because the subject of our panel discussion this afternoon is the impacts on the operators of the downstream oil and gas sector of the fuel subsidy removal. The impact on the downstream oil and gas sector operators of the fuel subsidy removal. Now, time is fast spent, so we'll try to have our discussions in the course of the next 25 minutes to 30 minutes or thereabout. And in doing that, we will be looking precisely at how this fuel subsidy removal has impacted this sector. Let's track back to 2021. Upon the enactment of the Petroleum Industry Act in August 2021. At that time, you will recall that there was great expectation in the industry because it was expected that with the passage of the PIA, the much anticipated deregulation of the oil industry would happen. However, the PIA came with a moratorium of 6 months for the deregulation to start applying, and that was to last up till the end of, or end of February 2022. By February 2022, the government of the then President Muhammadu Buhari indicated that it was not yet comfortable with the removal of regulated prices and indicated that the regulated prices will remain until the end of that administration in May 2023. In May 2023, on the 29th of May 2023, we had the now very famous statement that subsidy is gone. Here we are now, today in November 2023. And to kickstart the question, the very question is subsidy gone? If it is gone, what is the impact it has had on our industry? So I'll kickstart this discussion by posing a question, first of all, to Mrs. Akbani, as the chairman of DAPMA. I mean, we've heard, apart from the president saying that the subsidy is gone, even in the presentation of the Honorable Minister this afternoon, he indicated that the market has been fully deregulated. Now, I don't know because I don't import fuel. You import fuel. I buy fuel from the filling stations. I see the price on the meter. So in some places it's reading 590, 615, 630, thereabouts. Is that truly reflective of the market in which the subsidy is gone? Could you just give us an insight into those dynamics and what is happening?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kalbogo. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to disappoint you because it's difficult to answer that question. Is subsidy gone? Yes, I believe subsidy is gone. Are those prices reflective of deregulation? No, they are not reflective of deregulation. I don't see how you can have same price for 3-4 months in a deregulated economy that is dependent on imports. You're importing from global markets where the prices of oil change on a daily basis, if not hourly basis. The worst I would have expected to see is prices go up, prices come down. Then you know there's deregulation. But more importantly, that should be driven by demand and supply. You said we import. We don't import right now. NNPC imports. Some people insist there must be subsidy since NNPC is importing and selling at the same price. I don't work for NNPC, so I can't explain. But since we knock the figures every day, like I said, I don't believe there's any subsidy because NNPC gets FX, however it's done, at what we will call official rate. And if you do the figures, they're covering their costs. And the GCEO, who has just been reappointed again, has told us that he's not paying subsidy. And I believe that they're not subsidizing. So to that extent, there is guided deregulation. And I'm glad that NMDPRA is here. They're the ones supposed to police the industry. And I remember at the last meeting I attended with them, open meeting, I did ask, what are you really regulating right now if we're going to have the same price for 4 months? And then you give us import licenses and we can't import. We can't import because we don't have access to dollar at the same rate. We have access to dollar at black market. So if I go and take dollar at 1,150 and I have to compete with somebody who gets dollar at 780, obviously my business will be dead after this import. So I think to that extent, Emeka, that's how I can answer your question. I believe subsidy is gone, but I believe there's no enabling environment for deregulation to thrive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Essentially, what you have said, the king is dead, but long live the king. Okay, thank you. It's an interesting perspective, very nuanced. But so you've spoken to whether subsidy is gone or not. There's a larger question, or probably let me call it a related question, which I'll put to Hugh Stockman, which is not on subsidy now, but on deregulation, because deregulation incorporates removal of subsidies, so it's a bit wider than removal of subsidies. So to Hugh, I'll ask you the question. Again, if you listen to the minister's presentation, he emphasized on the fact that the industry is now fully deregulated. That emphasis was equally made in the course of the presentation by the NMDPRA. So, as an operator in the market, with and also the chairman of MOMAN, with your indices as to what's happening in the market, is the market really fully deregulated? Hugh Stockman.
All right. Thank you very much. I think, look, yes, the market is deregulated, but you need to realize that as businesses, you always want things to be even more efficient or even better regulated, if you know what I mean. Yeah, it's very clear that if you've got too many regulations and some of them are unclear or they might be kind of officious, you fail to see maybe the value that it adds to your business. But an unregulated environment, of course, will create chaos. People will start cutting corners, and basically, and that is basically not possible. And we are in a business that works with hazardous and inflammable products like PMS. So yes, there are regulations that fit actually very well in a deregulated environment. Yeah. But I think what you always need to do, and I think that was also said by the NMDPRA in their earlier presentation, you always need to keep on talking to say, does this regulation that is there, does it achieve its goal? Yeah, does it actually create an environment that actually the industry can thrive? So yes, there are regulations. Yes, the market is deregulated, and it has to be regulated in a deregulated environment. And I'm starting to become sounds a bit weird, but I think you get what I mean. But we'll have to keep on working as an industry together with the NDPRA to make sure that the regulations actually achieve what they are intended to do. Yeah. And I think there are areas where we can still further collaborate. Yeah. We talk about automation. Yeah. It's always going to be difficult to get a one-size-fits-all automation for the whole industry. But I do believe data is extremely important for all of us. Yeah, to understand what's happening in the market. So, and automation in that case can help. Yeah, we'll have to keep on talking about third-party access and open access. Yeah, because that's always going to remain an issue. And there's still, of course, there's still work being done to look at the pipelines, and I think it's important that also there we keep on talking about third-party access and open access. Yeah, I think it's important that we talk about consumer protection and anti-competition. I think one of the things that you want to point out is that, and I've said it in the past, where the price goes up, the consumer expects more. Yeah, and things like indeed sharp practices should be banned, and you might know that MOMAN is doing peer reviews of their members to make sure indeed that pumps are correctly dispensing what they should dispense. Yeah, I think we also need to there's still some work to be done around dispute resolution. So where we do disagree, which can happen with the regulator and us, how do you resolve it? Yeah, how do we make sure that it actually serves the purpose? So yes, there's a regulated environment that in our view fits a deregulated environment. Yeah, there are regulations. We just need to keep on working to make sure they do achieve what they're intended to do. And where not, we have a clear conversation and an open conversation about how can we improve it to both in the best of the industry and also in the best interest of the consumer and the workers in our industry. Yeah, I think a bit of a long answer, but I hope it hits what you were asking for.
No, I'm speaking to you, Hugh. The question is for you. It's a follow-up question. Having highlighted some of the things, yes, having highlighted some of those things you think are relevant to the deregulated market, I'd like you to speak a bit more specifically to the regulator and the things it is doing. How well has it fared post-deregulation, and what do you think it could do better?
I think the and I hope I'm audible. Can you confirm that you can hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
I lost a little bit connection. Okay, excellent. Thank you. I actually think that and I think we've always said that as MOMAN, a deregulation is a transition. It has a transition period. And there are not many countries that go from a regulated environment to a deregulated environment with some kind of transition. Yeah. And I think what I do appreciate from personal experience and also both as MOMAN and also from as let's say both my previous job and my current job is that they're always open for a discussion. There's no like walls are being erected to not discuss if there's something that we could do better. Yeah. So I think actually that given the path and given the fact that it is a transition, we need to realize, as you said yourself, it was the 29th. Yes, there were all kinds of regulations, but laws only become reality once they're implemented in a way. And I do think that with the fact that the fully deregulated environment is basically half year here. I think actually they've done a very good job in trying to capture the essence of the deregulations. But even if they haven't maybe thought things perfectly through, and we come with some comments, there's a willingness to listen. Now, I think that's important to then take the next step. Okay, what can we then maybe slightly, where are the areas that we can improve to make it better for business and more seamless? Yeah. And I think that's a crucial part. So I think, look, we'll only truly know maybe in a year's time or in half a year's time where we are, because as I said, we're in a transition. But I think so far, I think it's been good. But I think we will keep on working together to improve where we have some pain points.
I think at this point, I'd like to focus a bit more on the markets, on the consumer. So from the consumer, from the point of view of those of us who have to buy fuel, consumer, the everyday Nigerian who is impacted by the removal of subsidy as it is. And in that regard, I'd like to ask you this question, Amina. We've seen many governments bringing out measures, palliative measures, to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal, as it were. To what extent do you think that these measures which are being bandied by governments at the various levels are effective? And what do you think could be the ideal measures that could have actual impactful reverberations on the citizenry?
All right, thank you for that question. So when the issue of subsidy removal was first contemplated, there was actually a request that some sort of study should be done to see the impact on the consumers. Because you and I mean, some Nigerians will tell you that what I basically benefit from the government is the subsidized fuel and also perhaps subsidized electricity. Now, when the removal was done, everybody thought the impact will only be felt by the pump, but it led to such hyperinflation like we have never experienced before, right? So that study that's supposed to be done still needs to be done to see the impact on the average Nigerian. That's number one. But one of the things that was introduced and which has worked well was the subsidy or the subsidized transportation cost that was introduced by Lagos State. I don't know if you remember. Initially, immediately the subsidy was reduced. There was a 50% subsidized rate for transportation, right? And a lot of consumers benefited from that. So that's something that most governments will need to look into. And of course, that ties into the CNG discussion that we're having, which is basically if you're able to even subsidize the cost of fueling the cars, then you're able to subsidize it further for the citizenry. That's number one. The other one is, yes, I see that what most governments are doing is actually to distribute cash to people. But when you consider the fact that the inflation rate is so high, I mean, what will 5,000 naira do for a particular household? So the idea is, number one, we need to even do a critical study to see how is this thing impacting, because the essence, we've seen that transportation affects all the facets of the economy. It's not just movement of people. It affects movement of goods. It's affecting the airlines. It's affecting virtually everything. It's affecting our ability to travel in December, you know. So at the end of the day, there has to be that palliative that would also reduce the, transportation costs for most people. That's one. And interestingly, when we were looking at it initially, the expectation was that it will also reduce the fiscal deficit on the budget, but that has not really come to play, because what you find is that even the savings that we're making from the supposed subsidy, we were initially funding it with borrowings, right? So the impact on the budget is yet to be seen. But I would say to ameliorate the impact on consumers, perhaps we should look for a way to subsidize transportation costs for individuals, because they are the ones that are feeling the major brunt.
Okay, thanks. On the same subject, and I think I'd like to speak to you, Mr. Akbani. Because the impact is significant, the validity of 1 liter has now become very, very important. You go to your station, you want to fill up your tank. Some vehicles take up to 70,000 naira to fill up the tanks. So, and 70,000 naira is actually higher than the minimum wage. So in that regard, the question, and that's a very important question, is what's the integrity of the meters that our marketers are using? And what efforts are the marketers as a group, particularly your association, making to ensure that there is peer review and that a liter is a liter?
Thank you very much for that question. Again, I'll turn to NMDPRA. And I will confirm, even as an operator, that NMDPRA, to a very large extent, has been up and doing. They've been very responsible about this. I've seen them seal a lot of stations. Sometimes they seal only the pumps. If they come and check, and you have adjusted your pump, they will seal your station. And as chairman of DAPMA, our people know your 1 liter has to be 1 liter. And you know the rule is always, you can steal, but don't be caught. Okay. So even though we say don't steal, so that you won't be caught, but I will say steal, but you'll be caught sooner than later. And it's interesting that if you want to know who has adjusted their pump, just the slightest, ask a bus driver. They are the ones who know where 1 liter is 1 liter. My own experience, you see people come to your station with measuring can. And I'm not talking about the TikTok people. I'm talking about real people. They're coming to test your pump. And, you know, word of mouth, they're going to tell don't go there. They've tampered with their meter. So I think to a large extent, most marketers are very, very responsible when it comes to that. And in any case, there are a lot of pumps these days that you can't even touch. Only very high technicians can tamper with those pumps. So by and large, I would say that most people are getting 1 liter or maybe 0.95 liter for a liter. I don't want to say certainly everybody does 1 liter for 1 liter, but to a large extent, I know. And most times when it happens, NMDPR, they do tell me, we have sealed so and so station because we checked their pumps and they were not delivering the right quantity. Especially now that product is so expensive. Nobody, you know, this 70,000 is not a joke. I remember the day that thing hit. It was drama everywhere because some people drove in and they didn't look at the pylon. They didn't look. And some people were ready to fight. Said, I asked you to fill up. Why are you telling me it's 50,000? Say, please look at it. And said, no, remove the petrol. We can't remove the petrol. You know, you are obliged to look at the pump. And even when some attendant was trying to say, okay, see the price, he just thought it was nothing. Said, oh, no. Fill up. Then they finish filling, and then he hits you. How can you pay 50,000 naira? I know big people in the company, starting with mine. The Jeeps, they don't want to drive Jeeps anymore. They want Corolla because it's very fuel efficient. So I think to a large extent, part of the fallout of this is Nigerians are coming to terms with reality. We're beginning to live better lives, even if I say so. Apologies for people who don't feel so, but I tell people just a little patience. Like Mr. Tokman has explained, it's a system. It's going to take a while. But I assure you, from every permutation I have done, we're doing something better. We're no longer wasting resources. There was too much waste of Nigerian resources. If you notice, Monday to Friday, the roads are relatively free. So people walk out how to get to the office. Let me pair with this neighbor. I'm not saying it's the most ideal thing, but that will happen until we have very efficient transportation system. And I think that is coming. And we heard the minister's speech. We heard everybody else. We have alternatives. It's when things, you know, they say when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Now we know that that subsidy is not there anymore. Everyone knows that if you want to survive, even as a marketer, you have to look at alternatives. You have to look at what works. So Nigerians are looking at what works. Marketers, operators, we're all looking at what will work to make Nigeria great again. And I have no doubt that we're going to get there. It's just that, you know, maybe a little more seriousness. Okay, I think the government also needs to understand that we don't have forever to work on these things. People are hurting, and we hear it every day. So we all collectively have to work at making sure that a lot of these things are put in place in a short time. We don't have that much time. So I hope that
Okay,
addresses.
thanks a lot for that. That's very, very insightful good thoughts. Before I go further, I think there's an announcement. If you've got a Chrysler, there's a car outside disturbing everyone. It's a Chrysler AKD 01JE. Please go and move it right now. Otherwise, LASMA, FIRS, and every agency of government will come and move it, and you won't have that car back. It's a Chrysler. It's blocking access everywhere, please. AKD 01. Sorry about that. AKD 01JE. Thank you. Now, so Mrs. Akmani's intervention is quite important, but it also highlights, and Aminat, I want to put this to you. It also highlights the importance of, decision making. Whether it is, she's said that everyone has to be wiser now, and that is the individuals, the corporates, the government. So I want to ask you about the role of data. We have this downstream segment segmented into different aspects. How important do you think data is going to be? How available do you think the relevant data, how available do you think it is? And what do you think can be done around that, and by who?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And to borrow from Madam's words, when she said that she has some people that actually visit their stations with their measuring cans, what are they doing? They're collecting data to enable them to identify the stations to be visiting and the ones to avoid. So in Nigeria, interestingly, we do not have, will I say, a methodical way of gathering data. So for instance, if you want to do a research, there are some specific websites that you will go through, and I would not like to put the NMDPRA on blast here, but I would expect that ordinarily, if I need data about the midstream and the downstream sector, then I should be able to pull that from the NMDPRA website. Interestingly, because I knew I was coming here this morning, I did go to the website to see what data was available. Well, for gas information, I can say that's up to date, right? But for, I think, petroleum products pricing, that's a little bit behind, But that being said, even Nigerians take steps, to gather their own data in their own way. Like I said, ordinarily, the expectation is that there is a place to go for that data. But in the absence of that, you actually have people making steps to do that. And that's what she was talking about. I have a particular filling station that I buy fuel from, even if it is because of the ₦1 difference. And you will find that people exchange this information amongst themselves. We are currently in the age of data. Data, in fact, that's why your telecommunication companies will tell you that, data is life. So we're in a state where if you need information, you can get it at the snap of a finger. So I would say that, yes, we're not there yet as a country when it comes to getting online real-time data, but our people still find ways of exchanging information amongst themselves, and they use it for decision making. Some people will tell you, if you want to buy clean fuel, you go in the morning, this particular station has their meter at this price, and the information just gets out there. Like she said, word of mouth is very powerful. But I do agree with you, everybody is looking at the available information to make a purchase decision for, petroleum products. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Now, I'd like us to go with some takeaways. Okay, and whether we like it or not, I've looked through the room and I can see quite a number of industry operators in the room. And I'd like to speak to what I have heard, I know as a fact, is a problem, which is that there is a sense that the playing field for import of petroleum products is not even. The sense is that the NNPC is in a position of significant advantage over others, and that other players cannot compete effectively, particularly with regard to access to foreign exchange. So I'd like to ask you, Mrs. Akbani, in regard to that, are there any measures that you have thought about, either personally or as an association, that could, if implemented, level this playing field for everybody?
Thank you very much. Yes, because it has happened before. I do remember in maybe about 2016, 2017, the IOCs, were paired with us. And like, I remember my company was paired with a particular IOC, and they gave you the dollars you required for your imports. And we have suggested it to government. We made this suggestion earlier and even at the last meeting. Because you can't say that we have the regulation, we should go and compete. NNPC is a marketer. If I have to buy products from NNPC, it stands to reason. They'll give to me only what they don't consume. And that's what's happening. So when you talk about level playing field, there's no playing field at all, not to talk about level, because we can only buy from them. They will tell you nobody stops you from importing. Certainly nobody stops me from importing. We all have import licenses, but they're useless. Because if you can't compete, then why go into the business? AGO is fully deregulated. Even if I know that they still have a bit of access to dollars over and above what we have. But at least that market was deregulated a long time ago and has been sustained. So today you can import AGO and sell. They also import their AGO and they sell. The only difference is they sell at their stations. Until recently, they would import, and whatever excess they would probably give to some of us or give to some people who require. But right now, I'm not aware that in the past few months, they've given anyone AGO. So that way, the market is not distorted. So you know that if you go to the open foreign exchange market and get your dollars and bring in your AGO, you're going to be able to sell your product. And then part of what this also does is you then look at, oh, you have a few private refineries, even if they're not churning a lot in quantity, but at least they churn out some amount of AGO and all that. And all those come into the, into the basket. So to that extent, I think government really, really does need to look at that, because even if you say NNPC is the state oil corporation, they can never distribute fully for Nigeria. And I think it's not fair in business or in anything that everyone has to wait if you say there's deregulation, which is why I said I will really deregulated, okay, if we have to always wait. And it's not like they give you everything you need. Like I said, they also have a bit of restraint, because we're not importing endlessly. We all know we don't have the dollars anyway to import much more than we can consume. But it's not all flags for them. I also give them some credit that at least they're trying to manage the system. And within the limitations we have, at least so far, we hardly ever have queues, except when sometimes you have delivery shortfalls. They have tried, but I think the market will be more alive where you have competition. And there's no way NNPC can ever be as efficient. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. They can never be as efficient as a truly private company in doing this business. And that's the truth, I don't remember paying demurrage in God knows how long. I'll be surprised if NNPC still doesn't have to pay demurrage sometimes. You may say it's because the volume of business is really huge. Yes, the volume is very huge, which is why you should even avoid some of those costs. But for a private company, there are certain things that are no. Efficiency is your watchword, because every penny counts for you. You don't have any government money to fall back on. You make a loss, okay? With NNPC, I don't work there, so I don't really know. But I imagine that they too are trying very hard to be efficient. But you must know that they are not business people. NNPC is not, they are not business people running NNPC. They are still civil servants. Even though now we can see that they've made some really sound appointments. Okay, so they do have some people that have come in from private sector and they're driving. And that's probably why I'll tell you that I've seen some remarkable improvements recently, okay, and I was impressed because we had a little stock out, and I said, oh, okay, why don't you get some trust from NNPC? Why don't you, who does it? Just apply. Go to the portal, apply, and within 2 hours, it came out. I said, oh, really? NNPC can do this, wonderful. I wish they could do that with PFIs, okay? But having said that, I'm saying maybe it's a learning process. Maybe they're going to really walk up to it. But I insist that a free market is ultimately where we should be headed to. And they should make, governments now, I'm not saying NPC, they should at least make the field, give us a field before we start talking about level. Even if it's not level, it's okay, but at least give us a field for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, it will be remiss of me. I'd like to have to go back to Hugh. Hugh, you are NNPC, or at least you are affiliated to NNPC, even if it's retail. I know NNPC is quite a huge organization. Do you have any comments to make further to what Mr. Akmani has just said?
Well, you put me there a little bit on the spot, which is always the risk when you work for NNPC and also the chairman of MOMAN. So I need to take a little bit of an approach here. Look, I joined NNPC, what is now a year ago. Yeah, and I must say that they've given in the retail business where I'm responsible for, they've given all the support to make it a commercial entity. And what the mention that was just made around ordering on the portal, and 2 hours later you've got your order confirmed, you got your payment slip, etc., is indeed one of the things that we've implemented to basically help the market to become more efficient. Yeah, and I'm determined to make NNPC Retail a very commercial entity that actually is in a level playing field with everybody else. Yeah, because I think I love competition. I come from a world where competition actually makes you better. So I'm not afraid of competition, and I think we should, as NNPC Retail, not be afraid of competition. Now, as the chairman of MOMAN, I think that is what I think we echo what has been said. It's important in a deregulated market that there's a level playing field. Yeah. Now, as I said before, there's a transition. Yeah, and I'm sure that transition will end at some stage, because you can't be in transition forever. And I hope that the end game indeed, and that's what we want as MOMAN, to make sure that there is a level playing field for everybody. Yeah, there's no doubt, and there's no doubt in my mind that we'll get there. Yeah, because it's right for the country, it's right for the industry, and at the end, it's also right for individual players, because it will challenge all of us to be the best that we can be for our customers. Because at the end of the day, they pay our salaries, they pay all our investments, and then and we need to make sure that we keep them always in top of our mind. And then for us, it's make sure that we work safely and efficiently to deliver that service and that product. So I think that's how I would see it. And but as I said, we'll get there. It's a transition. Thank you.
Now round up, I think, just the final set of questions. And we want to look to the future now. And in looking to the future, globally, there's the increasing advocacy for energy transition. We've heard the focus of the NMDPR rate today on CNG. We've heard the decade of gas. So I'd like to start with you, Aminat. I mean, what are the options available? Is there even any room for adjustment by current market operators from what they're doing? And in doing that, what are the options available to them?
Thank you. I think when we look at energy transition in Africa and Nigeria, it's still a very interesting topic, and I'll tell you why. Interesting topic because we're still talking about energy security, right? And we're still talking about availability of products for electricity, for transportation, and the likes. If you look at the global study that's been done, what you find is that when you look at Africa's contribution to even global emissions, it's still roughly at the rate of 4%, right? And a lot of people are saying, should Africa really be involved in this energy transition, will I say, topic, mostly because we're not contributing as much as the G20 countries and the likes. But that being said, our president in the last administration did make a commitment to the global environment about the fact that Nigeria would achieve net zero emissions by 2060. So, like it or not, we need to start working towards that commitment. And in the light of that, I think I like the way the conversation has gone this morning when we're talking about how we can utilize CNG, you know, in our transportation sector and also to power industry. So yes, I think some of the points that has been raised by NMDPRA are very instructive. We need to start thinking of how we can harness our gas. It's interesting that the government has already adopted gas as a transition fuel, right? But I would like to say that perhaps we need to move a bit faster, because this declaration of the decade of gas was done as far back as 2020. This is 3 years later, and we're still looking at the, you know, what we can do. By now, we should be hitting the ground running. One of the major issues that we have seen when it comes to gas and harnessing gas in the country is the availability, is the supply. So there has to be concerted effort by the government to support gas producers, because if nobody is producing gas, then all the CNG dreams that we're having is mere wishes, right? I think some of the gas conversations that have been going on in the country has been how you can incentivize more people to actually produce gas. So that being said, please, I think in terms of energy transition, yes, we have a good ambition. I think that's what I would call it. But when it comes to the implementation, I don't see us doing a lot yet as a country. So we need to put so many things in place before we can actually be on track. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it may be useful that we take, even if it is one question from the audience, okay? So if there is any question or comment on any of the things that we've discussed from the audience, yes, please, and direct it to a particular member of the panel. So yes, there's a question writing from, I think that's the president of the... Chairman. Yes. Yeah, PPG, yes.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emmanuel Dangana. I'm a lawyer and the chairman of the Professional Practice Group. Mine is just a comment, and I wouldn't bore you because I took a couple of notes. First, for the members of the Chamber of Commerce, we want to know how both the regulators and the businessmen can engage with members who are in our group, who are looking at opportunities in CNG and all that. We're looking at CNG now. For the regulation, I'm sure those who are in business know the regulations already. So we want to know exactly how we want to engage. And then lastly, words, actions, implementation. Our panelist who is online spoke about implementation. If this engagement is really, really important, we must begin to find ways that the people who can take decisions should be in the room. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's another question by the lady right in the middle of the hall.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Kike Agumbiade. I'm a member of the women group of the LCCI. We have had so much lectures today about the oil and gas sector. My question is directed to the representative of the CNG, Mr. Farouk Ahmed. Gas, we have been told, is so vast and much in Nigeria such that everybody should be enjoying it. It's not everybody that has a car that needs to buy fuel. It's not everybody that has a company, a manufacturing or a ship to fuel. But I know that everybody needs to cook in their homes. Gas, as at last year, was like 3,500 or 3,000. But all of a sudden, the thing just flew up to the roof. A lot of people cannot afford it. What is the government or the people in charge of the CNG people doing to ensure that Nigerians actually enjoy the benefits of the blessings of God to this nation after this subsidy has been removed? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's all. I don't think I can't see any other hand. Okay, there are actually two. One right beside you there. Yes. They're all women. Okay, and that will be the last one, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Princess Mulikat Fentola Sani, the CEO of Mulifelong Motors. When we're talking about CNG, it's not something you can just say by mouth. It's highly technical oriented. And in that case, you have to be an engineer. And though we have been training some people because we have a workshop, you understand? So we normally train people like the convection and what have you with all the kits. It's something you just have to get on ground. So it's not something just like a street market or something. You have to be highly technical oriented. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll just take quick answers so that I'll be out of there in the next 3 minutes.
Thank you.
I'd like to, I'm so sorry, but I understand that the time is up, so let's just answer the questions we already have. But you can engage with the members of the panel or anybody in the course of the day after this session. Very quickly, the first question is, how can members of the chamber engage with the opportunities which have been identified? Mr. Akmani, I don't know if you want to take that question. Yes, yeah, for the authority. Okay, good. For the authority equally has the question of why is LPG expensive, and what can be done to bring it down? So you take the two questions, please, very quickly.
All right, thank you, Dangana. So if you followed our presentation very closely, you'll find that the emphasis that we made on the last slide is really very important to us. So every form of collaboration with our stakeholders is very open. If your unit in LCCI wants to establish any acceptable framework of collaboration that your unit in LCCI will want to establish with NMDPRA, okay, I'm waiting. Okay. So that discussion can be started very simply first by you approaching us formally with an indication of any collaborative framework that you want to establish with NMDPRA. What we have done with various, particularly the trade associations, and we deal with practically every trade association that plays in the midstream and the downstream and even upstream. So we deal with OPTS. There's a structured framework on how we engage with OPTS. Some of those frameworks then require that monthly we meet and review what the market performance indicators are. If there are issues that we then need to do a one-on-one with so that we articulate required actions that will be implemented, we do that. With MOMAN, we also have frameworks how we then collaborate with MOMA, with practically every stakeholder in the industry. So the first point to start, engage us. If you want to do a letter and express what acceptable collaborative framework you want to see your entity establishing with us. And then you'll find, of course, that the necessary structure to ensure that that is done will be implemented. And then secondly, on LPG, so you will find that, okay. So when we're also making the presentation, we just didn't present outlook on only CNG. If you look at that particular slide, where we try to present what is happening. Now, one thing you need to know, with the LPG market segment, that market segment is fully deregulated. Fully deregulated means that that market segment is subjected to the fundamentals of supplies and demand. And some of those fundamentals are then impacted by what is happening globally in that market space. So if you run through how the pricing of LPG, for example, is done, you will find that a lot of the LPG that is consumed comes from operations that are refinery tied and then related to crude oil. So once anything happens around that market globally, the volatility that we see on all the key major elements that impact the prices clearly are translated into the LPG market segment. But clearly, again, progressively, what needs to be done to ensure that there's availability of LPG across the entire segment of where LPG is used, quite a lot of discussions and then quite a lot of initiatives have been taken in that respect. Once a lot of the efforts around also, so then just recently, one of the ways that the regulator is discussing to ensure that supply comes into the domestic market in a manner where supply can impact on price is then looking at the LPG that is being produced domestically but is still exported to see how a significant additional volume of such LPG can then be translated into a domestic market. One of the major components that we need to ensure they are making that happen. Just this week, a meeting was actually held with them. The TA to the minister is here. He can confirm that the need to have that engagement with that very key, very major producer of elements of LPG that must then be translated into the domestic gas market. That discussion was started when we met the minister. And the directive that was given by the minister was then implemented this week. So progressively, you continue to see that the required market stability that is required around the major elements that impact price. As we move through the implementation of the PIA, we'll continue to see quite improvement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in closing, I'd like to close on an action point which is focused on the topic of this panel session. Again, the topic is of the impact on the operators of the downstream oil and gas sector or the fuel subsidy removal. And I'd like to speak to the authority. So obviously, an important pain point for the marketers, operators, is the unavailability of, as she said, any field at all, much less a level playing field. I was speaking with someone, one of the operators before the event started, and he said that they cannot compete with NNPC. The operator regulates the NNPC. Many people do not realize that. But the regulator, the authority, regulates the NNPC. No, the authority, they are supposed to, and they should. And my charge to the authority today, is to take up the reins. Regulate who you need to regulate. Heavens will not fall. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together again for our panelists. Just before they step off the stage, we need to give them the present. Please, let's do this before we have the membership director do about the chamber. Let's have the presentation of plaques to them. Vivian, can we? Okay, right. We will ask the president of the chamber, ably represented by the deputy president, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA, to do us the honor of presenting this to them. The first. Dr. Emeka Akabogu. Next, Dame Winfred Apani. So, Mr. Emeka, please join us. Let's do these last photo ops. You don't want to hold your plaque? I think it's fine. Yes. Stockman. Yes. Yes. Someone will receive for Mr. Stockman. Do we have? Yes. Okay, so yes. Somebody will receive for him. That's what I was told, yes. All right, Mr. Stockman, thank you for joining us today virtually. We will have your presentation received by your representative here, and you will get definitely your presentation. Let's have that done quickly. Okay, Clement Isong, yes. Thank you so much. Yes, Moman, right? Yes. Thank you so much, sir. So we will have the representative of Mr. Farouk Ahmed come up stage to receive the, let's put our hands together for, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Who's next? Okay, representative of Mohammed Bello, Coco. Next, the representative of Mr. Mohammed Bello Koko, MD, Nigeria Port Authority. Let's put our hands together for him as he comes up. So you need to get this to them. Next, Dr. Bashir Jamon, representative of Dr. Bashir Jamon. Dr. Awal Bamanga. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Bamanga. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. President, thank you so much. That done, I can allow you to get back to your seat safely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We will at this point listen to the Director of Membership Relations here at SCCI, Mrs. Abosede Okeyemi, as she gives us what the chamber is all about and how that we need to. Let's put our hands together for Bosse Okeyemi. Sorry, I'm told we still have one. I don't know where the plaque was hidden. but it will not hide. Because this must be done. Mr. President, sir. Mr. President, sir. Ably represented by the Deputy President, sir. Yes. Very soon, sir. You need to do this last one for the minister. No. Yes, we want to do this for the minister. Yes, let's have Engineer Ihe Abel representing the Minister for Minister of State for Petroleum have his plugs received. Let's put our hands together for the minister, please. Let's do it very well. This is Minister.
Good afternoon, everyone. Permit me to stand on existing protocols while I speak about the Lagos Chamber and Industry. I will just speak briefly about LCCI. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry was founded in 1888. We are the premier chamber of commerce in Nigeria. We are incorporated in 1950 as a non-profit making organization, limited by guarantee under the Companies Act of 1948. Our primary objective of the chamber is to promote and support or oppose legislatives or other measures affecting trade, commerce, and agriculture, as well as representing the opinion of the business community on the above matters, in particular, and the economy as a whole. Our mission statement is to promote and protect the interest of its members and the business community at large through public policy advocacy, creation and facilitation of commercial and industrial opportunities, provision of business development and services, and observance of higher standard of business ethics. Our vision statement is to remain the foremost chamber of commerce and industry and a role model for others in the promotion of sound business ethics and delivery of qualitative services. The activities of the chamber are carried out through various sectoral groups and services committees, which cover a variety of interests. The chamber secretariat provides the administrative and technical support for the day-to-day working of the chamber. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a representative organ of the business community as a voice of the organized private sector in Lagos. It maintains regular consultations with the government on policies and measures affecting the business and its economy. At the national level, the chamber is a leading and active member of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA. When necessary, the chamber makes representations to the federal government on issues of interest to the business community and the economy. What do we offer? The chamber promotes the trade and industry and also represents the opinion of the business community on matters affecting trade, industry of the Lagos State, and where applicable, the whole federation. We are incorporated as a non-profit making organization, and its income and properties are applied solely for the promotion of its objectives. We are a central organization for collecting, distributing, and dissemination information of the business nature, especially regulations, tariffs, opportunities for trade, and other matters affecting local and foreign matters. In the pursuit of our objectives, the chamber is non-racial, non-sectarian, non-political, and gender-friendly. Apart from our continuous effort to promoting and collective business interest for its members, The Chamber provides customized services to individual members. Letters of introductions are issued to members to facilitate visa procurement for international travels. Numerous directions, trade journals, and periodicals from virtual every country in the world are available to members of the LCCI. Certificates of origins are endorsed as a moderate cost to members and non-members. These services are also extended. The Chamber's annual reports and monthly newsletters are given to members. A biannual business directory of members is currently being published to enhance marketing and networking within and outside the LCCI. Thank you very much, and do have a great day.
Thank you so much, Director, for that brief what the Chamber is all about. I believe we will maximize the opportunity of joining the Chamber. As she had said, there are a lot of benefits I believe she has not captured in short remarks that you will get to know if you do join the Chamber. And our officers are around to help you maximize that. We need to take this last photo off before we ask for the vote of thanks. So I will crave the indulgence of Mr. President, ably represented here by the Deputy President, to please come up stage. All of our speakers, we have the representative of Mr. Mohamed Bello Koko, please join us. Representative of Mr. Farouk Ahmed, please, you are invited. Please join Mr. President on the podium. We have the representative of NIMASA DG, please join us. Representative of the Honorable Minister, please, you are highly invited. I want to believe, Dame Winfred Akwani has left. If she's here, please join us. We will also appreciate that the Director General of SCCI, Chief Dr. Mrs. Chinyere Almona, FCA, please join us. Thank you, ma. While this is going on, I want to crave your indulgence to please be very mindful of your phones. Please, do not drop your phone at this time for any reason. Let your phone be with you. When I mean with you, holding it. Please, if you cannot hold it, give me. I will hold it for you. Please hold your phone. Don't drop it. Mr. Dagana, please hold your phone. I can see one. Please hold. Please hold your phone. Sir, please hold your phone. Are you good? Thank you so much. Thank you, our leaders. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We can return to our seat. Thank you so much. While our leaders get back to their various seats, I have the singular honor to bring to the podium for a vote of thanks Mr. Oludare Talabi. Oludare Talabi is the Vice Chairman, Petroleum Downstream Group here at SCCI. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Dare Talabi as he makes his way forward for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Lagos Petroleum Downstream Group, we would like to appreciate everyone for coming. We would like to appreciate all the members of the chamber here present, all the senior vice presidents, all our guest speakers, members of the press, and everyone who took the time to attend and to grace this occasion. We would like to appreciate you, and we look forward to you coming in our next symposium. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. With that done, we have come to the end of this program officially. We can then network, interact with our colleagues and stakeholders in the industry.
Thank you so much. Do have a great day.